screen for right now, and people might be joining us in. But welcome to our call, our weekly call. Tandawa, for the first time since she started in February, has a vacation day. So good for her. It's her birthday weekend. And to be honest, she was going to be on the call and leave for the beach after this. And I insisted that she just take the whole day and get going because she works so hard, as you know. So that being said, we welcome you all here. And if you haven't already, could you please put your name and your program name in the chat? So Dina Buck can see who's on. We are spread out all across the Commonwealth here. You know, we have like 50 plus directors, but this is usually get about 20 to 25 on the weekly call because of people's schedules and so forth. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dina Buck, and a lot of you know her from previous roles that she has played in early childhood, but I will have her introduce herself and her background a little more. But right now she is the state ambassador for Learn the Signs Early, Act Early, excuse me, I said it wrong.
That's all right.
So go ahead, Dina, thank you for being here with us today to talk to us.
Oh, absolutely. No, it is absolutely my pleasure to have a chance to chat with you guys. I know that many of you are already familiar with some of the resources from the Learn the Signs Act Early campaign, but I really wanted to pick your brains a little bit about maybe a few of these resources that might be the most helpful to you right now, and some resources that you might be able to use in the future as we eke our way through what's happening with COVID. So I did put together just a little short PowerPoint that I'm just going to open. Shoot, I should have done this before we started. Here we go. Share screen. That's what I missed. But I also want to be able to see your faces. So I'm going to just do it this way. Is that working? Play from start. Okay, here we go. So I have actually served as the Act Early Ambassador now for since 2012. And so if you and I have met before, I used to actually work at the Partnership for People with Disabilities at VCU. So it's our University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities, and have always had a passion about child development and how children learn all the things that they learn, and the amazing process that goes forward with families and children and caregivers and teachers and early childhood folks having children get off to a really great start. The other part of that then is when concerns are identified, that we also make sure that children get the supports that they need. So when the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention set up the Learn the Signs Act Early Ambassador team, I thought that is something I want to be part of. So I signed up for the first cohort in 2012 and was selected. And so I've been doing this ever since. So I always joke about this, that I don't have any parking privileges. I didn't get a sash, but I do actually have a crown. A friend of mine went to a yard sale one time and she bought me a crown. So it's at my old office. So now I don't have my crown with me anymore. But what I do like to do is just be just like an ambassador would be for another country, is just tell you about what's cool about where I come from, the things that I know about, and help figure out if there's something that would be of interest to you. So I love doing this work. And if as a result of talking today, you would like me to schedule a time to chat with you some more about these materials, I can do a deeper dive and show you and your staff the resources of the campaign. Any way I can support you using these, I would love that. So just reach out to me. I put my email address and phone number in the chat. So once I retired from VCU, I actually was able to keep going to finish my term as the ambassador, which goes till the end of February. So anyway, that's my scoop. And I love early childhood. So why can't I? Oh, here we go. Sorry. So I am curious, have any of you ever used any of the resources from the Learn the Signs Act Early campaign? Is there anybody who uses those already? I don't know if you just want to shout out or wave your hand, or we can know who used some of them, or if you can put it in the chat. Has anybody ever used any of them yet? Not yet. Oh, yay. Well, then this will be fun. We can talk about these. One of the things that Tandwa sent you ahead of this call was just, it looks, it's a one-page sheet that I'm going to show it to you in just a minute again to see what it looks like, but they call them little primers. It's about, these are resources that might be helpful to people from this world, from this type of setting. So we'll look at a little bit more about some of the specific things that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and HHS think might be really good ideas for people who work in Head Start. These are just some pictures of some of the materials that the campaign has available. Some of the ones that I'm really excited about, I'm going to show you just a few of them in a little bit more detail, but I did just want you to know that these do exist. They're all in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Learn the Signs Act Early site. And Dawn, is it possible for me to send my slides out to everybody once we're done?
Yes, certainly. You send them to me and I can send them out, because we
Perfect.
always send the recording of this and I'll put it in the same email.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
Mhm.
One of the things that's happened over the last 3 years is developing 3 new children's books. So we have one, Amazing Me, It's Great Being 3, Where is Bear, A Terrific Tale for 2-year-olds. And we now have a new book for 1-year-olds. That's a hardback book. And they're really lovely. And you can order them from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's website. You have to order limited capacities and numbers. I'm sorry about that. We don't have enough for every family yet, but you can also download them, and they're also available to be shared that way. One of the things I'm really excited about is down here at the bottom is this milestones tracker. It's actually an app that you have on your phone, and it's really lovely. You can kind of set up a fake child, or, you know, I actually set it up for my own daughter. She is, Emma is, oh, gosh, sorry, my kitten decided to join me. Emma is 31. And so I put it in, but I changed her year of birth to that she was going to be 2. So when it came time for her birthday, I got this little note that said, it's almost time for Emma's 2-year-old checkup. Now, of course, you know, Emma's 31. And so, but it asked me if how she was doing on her development, what questions I had to send to the doctor. It's really a wonderful app. So I hope you'll look at that. And again, I'm so sorry for this little kitten. Come here, sugar. Okay, you have to get down. You have to get down.
This is real life. We love that kind of thing.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, because this is what happens, right? Let's see. There's also this little video that I'm just gonna, I don't know if you can, I want to make sure, can you guys hear this?
Valuable for my teachers and my parents. And so we're excited to be able to utilize it and provide it to the community. We're using the pamphlets, we're using the online applications that we have, and we're also encouraging our parents to download the new app. And one of the best things, set aside from it being great resource information, it's all free. Having resources that are available that talk about milestone development and why it's important and how to track it and how to know when your child is reaching their milestones or not is critical. We're all on the same page. We're all on the same accord. We're using the same resources. We're having the same dialogue. We're using the same language when we're talking to people. So when I have my parents here and I'm talking to parents about milestones, they understand what I'm talking about because they're using the materials. Again, it bridges that gap between the school and the home. If we're all aligned and we're all working towards the same success for our children, monitoring the milestones and being able to determine when children need more support. You don't have to have a master's degree or a PhD to be able to read the literature and understand it. So we have parents who don't have high school diplomas, who didn't graduate, and to be able to give them some of your resources and say, hey, this is what we're doing here. You can read through this, and then we can put a plan in place to make the child be most successful. If both of us are monitoring his progress and his milestones collaboratively, then we'll have a successful outcome at the end of the day.
And the campaign has also put together that same kind of little video for doctors, for parents, for WIC staff about how they can use these as well. So I mentioned earlier this, and I apologize how it looks so big and stretched out on the screen, but the campaign puts together these things that they call primers. So it's how can people who walk the path that this one's targeted towards use these materials in their work. So this is the one that's for Head Start and Early Head Start. And this is the handout that Tandwa sent to you guys ahead of our call. I just wanted to link again just to show you what it looks like. Some of the ways that at the national and federal level that they thought these might be helpful to you would be making sure and having the information for families. I love how that director says, this way we're talking about a common language. So whether, and again, she's talking about in theory about like when people come into the building, and I know world is different right now, although I really am wanting to know more about how things are playing out for you guys in person right now and what the challenges are. But as we communicate with families, whether that's in writing, whether that's online, more and more of these resources are available all electronic. So if you wanted to be able to share a developmental screening checklist that says he's 18 months old, can you fill this out? It's not a developmental screening tool. It's not an ASQ. It's not anything like that, but it's really powerful information for families about what kids typically do at a certain age, how to then encourage their development, and then what to do if you have concerns. So those are sort of the messages of the campaign. From the Head Start performance standards, they feel like these would be tools to help you with supporting in your developmental screening efforts. There's also a curriculum. It's a little short module that's called Watch Me, Celebrating Milestones and Sharing Concerns. I've heard from some people in the early care and education world that they are interested in people building their knowledge and skills during the time when things are a little bit different now. And this is a short 1 hour online module, but it's done in 4 parts. They're 15-minute segments. But if you do that all, you earn 0.1 CEUs that you can count towards your training requirements. So anyway, the kinds of things that I think you might find helpful, the milestones checklist, the milestones moments booklet, and then the app are probably tools that would be of interest to you in your Head Start role. I mentioned the app a couple of times, and I really do love the Milestones Tracker app. If you have a phone and feel comfortable downloading this and playing with it a little bit, Virginia is actually in the top 10 of states that are using the Milestones Tracker app. And I think that is because people like you guys are getting the links to families, and families are using it. I have family members who are using it to help support their children and their grandchildren in looking at what kids are doing at certain ages. What's really cool about the app is it also has examples. So if a family is not quite sure what it means when you're talking about a child being kind of afraid of a stranger, there's a little video clip of what that looks like. So when a 9-month-old is doing that, that's exactly what they should be doing, because they're understanding things cognitively that that tell us that they're learning and growing. So it has that message about what are some cool things you can do with kids this age. The other thing that I hear that people use the tracker for is to remind themselves of what 18-month-olds do or what four-year-olds do, so that if you are not typically spending a lot of time with a certain age group of kids, but to kind of quick come up to speed on, oh, that's right, this is what 3 and 3-year-olds do. It's a nice way to do that. So the app, and I'd be happy if you want to do this as a follow-up step, is to have a more detailed coverage about the app. I have a longer term training I can do for anybody who's interested. I think the app is really cool. It's also helpful to know that the CDC does not collect any information using the app except where you are when you download it. That's the only item of information that they collect, which helps me see the change in when people are using it. So if anybody hasn't tried it yet, I would love for you to do that. This is what the app looks like. There's a page for each child. It looks at what the milestones are, when to act early, tips and activities, a milestones quick check, and then it gives you a summary. You can also, the family can send it to the doctor. It's really pretty cool. It's on Apple, on an iPhone and Android, and it's free. And again, no information is shared. No information is collected about families or children. The other tool that people use a lot from the campaign in the Head Start world are these checklists. And so it's milestones checklists at all the periodicity schedules from 2 months all the way to 5 years. What you need to remember is what's included on here are broken into 4 developmental areas: social, emotional, language, cognitive, and physical or motor or movement development. It's not a substitute for a validated screening tool, but it's a really nice way to say, what's going on right now and what can we do to encourage this child's development? Some people use this at intake when people get started. People send them in preparation for parent meetings, families fill them out, the teacher fills them out, lots of ways they can be used. That same information is also put together in this little booklet. So some of you may have seen this little booklet. And I wish I have one here. Unfortunately, everything is stored at the office, all of my materials. So I can't show you physically what one looks like. They are translated into English and Spanish. In every one of the materials is English and Spanish, and the variety of them have also been translated into multiple languages. So if you need help linking to things in a different language, I'd be happy to do that. So when you go, if you have a half an hour, and I know you probably don't, but if you do and something cancels and you have a few minutes, to look on the website. These are some sections that I think you would really like. There's a whole really cool broadened section about information for families. So what I've been learning from different people around the state is that folks are linking these, sending these links out to families. They're posting them on their websites. They are sharing them through newsletters and trying to get things in people's hands. The children's books are really lovely. I'm going to see if this will take us over there. We have 3 of them. Baby's Busy Day is the one that's the hardback book. And I'm actually trying to get together a big group order for Virginia. I don't know how your money comes to you guys, if you ever would have funding available, but we're going to try to do a big order and put everybody's money together and be able to buy more of them because they'll be a lot cheaper. But you can also open it right here and see it. So I know we have to pay attention to screen time for children, but you actually could look at the book. The family could see it. So what's really nice about it is if you see right here, there's milestones are built into the story. So at 12 months, 9 months, we see how the baby's helping to get dressed. So it's actually really cool. Okay, so now I've got to close back this out and get back over to where it was. Again, about the milestones tracker, I would love for you to check that out. The other thing is to know that many of the materials I mentioned before are already in other translations. So this tells you how to get there and link to the resources. The other thing that's pretty cool is you can customize all these materials for free. So if you wanted, for instance, to put your address on it or your phone number or your staff person's name who's going to call the family, there's a way to do that. So they send you all the documents and you can make the changes yourself and then print them yourself. So it's actually a pretty cool, that's a cool thing too. I guess I was hoping we could use the last little bit of our time though to see how you think you might be able to use some resources like this, especially during COVID-19. And then I am just particularly interested sort of from that step back now in light of the realities you're facing. How do you feel like the developmental monitoring and screening part of your operation is going right now? What are the biggest challenges that you're running into? Where do you see the biggest gaps? Because I didn't mention it before, but Virginia has been awarded an additional grant to be doing some looking at early identification across sectors. Because due to COVID, we know that children are not getting their well child checks, they're not getting their developmental screenings in the ways that they have in the past. And that some children are getting supports that they need and some aren't. And so we're trying to figure out where are those gaps of the kids that we're really missing. And then also how can we support our providers, our network of early childhood professionals who are at this job every single day, trying to keep kids engaged and families supported, but it's a tricky path right now. So anyway, I guess I was hoping, if that's okay, Dawn, that we could use the rest of our time just to have a little bit more of an open conversation, since I get to pick your brains
Yes,
while we're here together.
we spend a lot of time on this kind of call weekly, just talking to and learning from each other.
Love it.
Is it possible, now that everyone kind of sees what she's asking, to start the conversation, we could just stop sharing your screen so we could all see each other? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
I love it.
Okay. So I think these are the great questions because of obviously the times of COVID, things have changed. So this is a good time, folks. Does anyone want to kick us off to say how you're doing, checking in with families on these, especially because of the well checks and things aren't happening as much? I think the app is a wonderful option, you know.
I really do. I mean, I know I said that and you don't have 30 minutes because you've got crazy things to get done, but I think once you play around with the app a little bit, you will really, or maybe there's someone that you work with who's really into that kind of thing, who could kind of be your person who gets into it. And again, I would love to show you the specific features of it because there really are some neat things. And a new updated version is going to come out in just after the first of the year, but it's also in English and Spanish. And I don't remember if I said that or not. So.
Yes, you did. That's great. So some of the questions would be, even how would you see yourself using these materials, your family service workers, and so on.
This is Jessica at Steps. We actually have used the booklets and the handouts by age group with the checklist for the last several years. They're part of our parent orientation when they come on board. and they go in their parent packet, and so they get that information. We've looked at the app before, but haven't really implemented it fully. But every year we place a large order and load our closet up with all the brochures, and we have them on hand for all of our site administrators at each location as new students come in, as well as with our family service workers. So we do use the materials. Obviously, there's a lot more we could do. I know we had a book order at one point. We have that I can't remember which book it was, but that we use at transition time. When they transition from early Head Start to Head Start, we give them a book. I can't remember which one it was, but one of my staff is like on the ball with with all of your supplies. So I know we've got them in the closet. I know that we are utilizing them. I'm not quite sure what we did this year because we moved our parent orientation to online, but the resources are there. So we haven't quite tackled it this year with COVID, but in the past, I know the past 3 years, we've used those materials as part of our parent onboarding and orientation and intake process.
Oh, those are great ideas. Thank you. Is this work okay for you guys to have this little kitten? Does that bother anybody? Okay, all right, good. His name is Wahoo, so we're Virginia fans, so I guess that's, we name our cats this. So any other ideas? Anybody else using these or think there might be some strategy or how it might complement what you're doing now in light of the craziness that we have underway?
I would like to know how widespread this is with the pediatricians, because I know you mentioned that, but I remember back to my own children's well checks and they would talk about things and ask and hand me a sheet. I mean, this is just amazing with this technology. I'm hoping that they're all getting this at their well checks. I know that they're harder to get the well checks now, but the point is, are the pediatricians utilizing this?
We are doing sort of the same kind of thing of working through their world, through the Academy of Pediatrics and then through the Virginia Association. So actually we have two wonderful colleagues at the Virginia chapter of the Academy of Pediatrics who've offered to kind of help us put the word out to that group as well. So we've done dissemination to them, we've done sharing, and they get this message through their Academy of Pediatrics, through the Virginia chapter and through the AAP. I think what I'm hearing from people right now is that because of having so many things underway, that developmental screening is sort of falling to the, it's that families have a lot going on, the appointments are short, telehealth is shorter, and that it's not quite getting the attention that it used to. And I understand that people have got so many things going on. The reality is though, that those developmental concerns probably won't go away. And so we do need to have that on the radar. So in some ways, I think our messaging to them is going to be encouraging them to use the app as much as possible, because it really is a very nice way for families to keep up with what's going on with their child and then also be able to communicate directly with them. So because you have the ability to email.
Right.
So I do think that that's an area that we've got to get better at, Dawn. I don't think that part's going particularly well. It's part of what this group, that's this new grant, is looking at screening data and EPSDT rates for early periodic screening, diagnosis, and treatment. So are kids really, like, which age group of kids? Are we really missing a lot of kids under 3? Are we really missing more younger kids? Are we missing kids who have Medicaid as their insurance? And I'm not sure we know the answers to those yet. So those are the kinds of things we're looking into, but I completely agree with you that the essential place of point also has got to be their primary care doctor. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. He loves to go back over my shoulders and he has really sharp claws. So let's see, is there anything else in the chat? Do you think there's a way that you could, how are you reaching out to families? Can we chat about that? Like, are you having through email? Are you doing texts? Are you how are you staying in touch with families?
Oh, okay. So just one in there.
This is Laura from Fredericksburg. I can tell you that we are on a hybrid model where children are coming in and some are virtual. So teachers are using My Teaching Strategies Family app to communicate with families. Okay. Email, phone, we'll do Child Plus blasts. They can come in if they want to, if it's something they need, but we have put like a drop box for them to bring back paperwork, which has drastically changed our receiving medical paperwork, because that's really hard for parents if we're only
Right.
open 8 to 4.
Right.
So we had one attached to the building that's secure with extra locks on it. And I can say we have far more dentals than we have ever had this year. And I think it's due to that drop box.
How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool. What a great idea. That's what our church did too. They put a secure Dropbox because, being able to have information sharing that was important and needed to be protected. So it's really helped too with our communication there. It's funny you should say that.
This is Kathy Channel, and I serve on the Virginia Head Start Association board, but I also am the chair of the Smart Beginnings in Greater Prince William. And we have a program called Books for Babies, and we ensure that every single child that's born in a Prince William County hospital, their parents receive a book, developmental wheels with some milestones. And I'm definitely going to look at these materials and add to what we're able to provide to those families.
Oh, that would be great. When you look at the app, the section about the app, one thing that's in there is a half of a sheet that's a really nice short flyer about the app that is very visually oriented. And I think it's really nice. So I've been printing those out. Well, and of course, pre-COVID time, I was printing those out and giving those out. And in fact, I'm so sorry I wasn't able to visit with you all at the Head Start conference. I had actually been accepted to do a session about Learn the Signs Act Early. So we would have had a chance to chat there. And I may have seen some of you for when I did posters in the years past exhibits, but I do think that's a nice little addition. It's an easy piece of paper. The other thing somebody told me the other day, that's one of their local home visiting programs, is doing mailing things to families ahead of a call. And so they were going to then start adding some of these into this little packet that they mail to the family before the first chat on the phone or for a subsequent call, which I thought was a cool idea too. I think we're starting to be creative. But that's a great thing. You guys have some really cool early childhood work underway in Prince William. Kathy. Do you feel like we mentioned trying to reach families in the realities we're in? Are there any other challenges, that kind of big things? Do you feel like you've lost groups of your children and families? Kind of programmatic, what are you guys seeing that has to do with early? Are kids getting referred but not actually getting served for supports and services? Is there anything else that's kind of a big thing you want to make sure I put on my list that you're seeing in your localities about early identification?
I think we haven't mentioned it yet, but obviously social emotional, those types of touch points, obviously milestones, what is sort of a typical development versus not, in terms of, tantrums versus are we really dysregulated all the time kind of thing. I think we do need to keep an eye on that with families, especially during this time.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Dawn. I think that's the only issue we've run into, is that the pediatrician will say, oh yeah, they're fine, this is typical, but the teacher and administration are like, this is not typical. And so the message doesn't align. And then when they see someone says, well, we're not going to test till after 5. And now you've lost those 2 years that you could really support this child, and probably wouldn't need supports at 5 at that point if they've had these skills to learn. Right.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, when I heard that, I think we already had too much wait and see kind of conversation pre-COVID, and now to hear that coming up, it seems like that voice is stronger than I feel comfortable with, because what you just said, Laura, is if we had supported that child and family earlier, and we might not even need those supports later on. So let's see if there's anything else in the chat that I've missed. Okay, so let's see. No, the Spotsylvania, I've seen some of these resources in the Parent Resource Center, but they don't get much traffic. That is actually great, because really part of again, it's having things available is great, but really what's better is if they actually get in if that they're helpful to families. So whether it gets in their hands or whatnot. And it's funny, our little milestones moments booklet, one of the states, one of my other ambassador friends, they send them home with every family who has a new baby. Which is great. And the idea though was that they would keep this one little booklet for the course of this child's life. And I, as a parent, almost started laughing, thinking we were lucky if we kept up with the diaper bag to start with. And so I doubt that I would have kept that little thing. But this one of the other programs, they kind of keep it in the child's records. And so it's something they revisit over time. And that seemed to have worked a little bit better. But I do think how we can get these in people's hands. In some ways, this opportunity of a digital time right now may be a way that we get these in people's hands in a little bit different way on their phones, or whether they download things. So I do think that's one of the other nice things about the campaign is, I mean, you can certainly order things and print them yourself. I printed these myself this morning on my printer, and I think they look fine. So access is easier, but they also can be sent electronically, and that's a nice thing too. Let's see if there's anything. I'm thinking we can use these. Oh, during parent workshops. Oh, that's a great idea, Cindy. They're doing those by Zoom. Yeah, and I think when you look at the section on the Learn the Signs Act Early website about support for families, the message that I hope you'll see that comes through so loudly and clearly is really how we can engage families in ongoing developmental monitoring, but doing that through enjoying the amazing things that their kids are doing and appreciating that the games that they play with them and the ways that they interact with them will build the skills they need, that are just starting to emerge and that will come soon, and the power of that interaction between families and children. So I do think that's a great idea to think about how these could be engaged and used for parent education. Well, let's see. I did, and in the PowerPoint that you'll get from Dawn just has my contact information again. And like I said, if there's any chance that you, or any time that you think, gosh, I have a great staff meeting, we have a staff meeting coming up and we have some open time. If it would be helpful to have me come do a little like by Zoom, I'd be happy to do that. We can do a deeper dive on a certain material, how to use it. The app, again, I think I don't want you to have to spend time fiddling with it. If I can show you some quick hints on how to use it, I'd be happy to do that. So just follow up and let me know how I can support the work that you guys do. And I also do serve on the Head Start Advisory, I think that's what it's called, Advisory Committee.
But Tonda was, yeah.
Committee. So that's been another way for me to stay sort of in connecting a little bit more and engaged in the work that you guys are doing. So I will continue to serve in that capacity. So that's another way that Dawn and I and Tonda and I can keep connected. So I really appreciate your time.
Yes, and Dina, we are thrilled to think that these are all free resources, and your time and willingness to come and talk to faculties or staff. This is an incredible resource. And as you all know, it's sincere and genuine. She's not selling a thing, and it's just only here. I know, I'm serious, because some people are out there selling stuff. This is for our families. And this is only for the betterment of our children. So thank you so much. And I will make sure that I send out your PowerPoint and contact information, and we can have you back again if you'd like, but I would be interested in people reaching out to you directly. Now with Zoom, it's the pros and cons, it's good and bad. I mean, you couldn't probably drive to Southwest Virginia in the past to talk for 15 minutes at a faculty meeting, but now you can Zoom in and it's considered normal.
Yep.
So,
although I would love to go to Southwest Virginia, whoever is from there, that's where my family's from. So my grandparents, so I would, she's from Cripple Creek, if anybody knows where that is. So, so I would love to take a field trip when that's allowed to happen. So anyway, well, thank you so much for including me, Dawn. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to see you all.
Okay, thank you, Dina. Bye-bye. All right, folks, I'm gonna shift gears here and put up this agenda for a minute. And I know you all get these from Tondawa, and I'm not gonna open all of the links. I'm just gonna quickly touch upon them so we have more time to talk. There is a COVID-19 update. As you see here, the Governor Northam takes action on the revised state budget. So that is a good resource for you. You know that the General Assembly did do a special session started back in August because the money that was passed in the General Assembly last March was then what they call unallotted. Instead of allotted, they turned it into unallotted, and then they had to kind of redistribute. So that's been an ongoing discussion, and Voices for Virginia's Children is still very involved in working on the next General Assembly session kind of talking points and issues that will be coming starting in the beginning of January. So that's a reference for you there. And I'm going to just skip down to the resources here for a minute and just point out there's a virtual national research conference that you could look and see the information if you're interested in sending some staff to that. This is National Center Program Management Fiscal Operations. This is information on your self-assessment. If you are looking for ways to revise your annual self-assessment, that's a good resource for you, especially in the virtual times. And this is National Childhood Early Childhood Teaching and Learning with support for professional development and higher education. So again, you know they're there and they're hyperlinked, so you can hop on and refer to them if you'd like. I wanted to mention this roundtable discussion part here, this Early Childhood Advisory Committee for ECAC. The ECAC is the new Early Childhood Committee that is coming out of this new legislation about unifying early childhood in Virginia. And that if you are selected to be on this committee, you will advise the Board of Education on policies and regulations related to our unified early childhood system in Virginia. And that ECAC members would reflect the diversity of our early childhood care and education system, which means there would be like Family Day Home and you know, child care, Head Start, VPI, and so forth. So one of the ECAC categories for membership requires a Head Start provider. And we're allowed, according to this legislation, 3 Head Start representatives, one of which is run by a school district, so that we have to have at least one school division grantee and 2 others. So applications are currently being accepted for membership and due no later than Friday, December 18th. And I'm gonna, I guess, that's hyperlinked. I'm not going to take the time to open the application, but what I would like to do is talk about maybe if anyone is interested, or just have an open conversation saying, you know, this is our time to see how could we have our best representation. And I'm not necessarily talking about who's the best person. I'm saying, because that would be strange to discuss and put someone on the spot, I'm saying, how can we diversify our perspectives? Like rural, city, more English as a second language, small programs, large programs, grantees that are CAP agencies versus standalones. So I think we should give some thought to this, because who might be interested in applying? And of course, we know there are a lot of directors that are not on this call right now, so this is not like a set in stone thing. I just wanted to see, kind of throw it out there. Who might be interested. And Shaiki, I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but isn't this a 3-year commitment? Do you know? I think it's like
yes, it is a commitment to 2023-24, I believe.
Okay. And how often do you think they'll meet? Like quarterly or something?
I think it's good. It's actually going to be developed like the School Readiness Committee was.
Okay.
And if that is the case, then they'll probably meet about 3 times a year.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. All right. So does anyone think that they want to bring up if they're interested in applying for this, or what kind of variety we should be looking for? Let's just see if we can brainstorm this together.
I put in the chat that I was thinking of applying for it.
Oh, okay, great, Laura, from Fredericksburg. Okay. And you are a school division grantee.
We have Head Start and VPI, and I also have a child in VPI.
Oh, great.
And not in my program, at a different one.
Great.
And obviously, Dawn, you know, I'm interested in applying.
Right. Shaiki, you would bring a lot of experience from the School Readiness Committee and all the other group work you've done as well. Does anyone else have a thought or even maybe a recommendation? We could reach out to someone that you think would be really good at this. I mean, I'm happy
I
to
think
apply.
Chardell,
Oh.
what's his name, from Mile High. I think he was interested in applying too.
Okay. Well, that's not a CAP agency, so that would be interesting because that would be one school division, one community action program, and then one kind of on its own governance, right? I mean, if those were the ones selected. I was saying I'm happy to apply as well. I'm just not sure if they're having a more of an interest of those in the field, so to speak. And I think that is very valuable, obviously, if you're running a program. But I was thinking about applying to it as well, but I'm not sure. I don't want to take a spot from someone if they were to choose me that really wants to serve in this way. Not saying they would necessarily choose me. What do you all think of that? It should be someone who's.
This is Kathy. I think it's important from a board perspective that, you maybe should apply. And I know that, if Shaki applies and gets accepted, I know that because she's serving as one more year as past president, that she'll make sure that Allison is up to date with what's going on.
Allison Noble is our new board president. Shaiki's two-year terms up. And so that's what she's talking about. Allison Noble works with Smart Beginnings. I'm not sure what do you call it, Smart Beginnings. What do you call it? What's her
Smart
region?
Beginnings Crater.
Okay.
No, actually, I'm sorry. It's Southeast now.
Southeast, okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and apply as well. And of course, there's a lot of people, like I said, who aren't on this call, but I just thought it would be good to see what kind of interest was out there. This is our chance to be well represented. And that was actually something that was quite a bit in the talking point of the language in the General Assembly budget language last January, February, was to get 3 representations from Head Start and to have it be 1 school division and 2 non-school division out of the 3. And that's because this is housed now, we know early childhood is in the Virginia Department of Education, and there will be VPI representation. And so we wanted to make sure that out of our 3 slots, we had 2 that were not affiliated with public schools per se. So I think this is great. So does anyone have anything else they want to say about that, or should we move on?
Dawn, I'll just say one last thing about that is that I think that I'm glad we had this conversation today, but we make sure that we do have a group of applications to go in, because it will look really bad if we didn't, being that we pushed for that 3rd spot.
Correct. Right. So do you recommend, Shaiki, that I send out an email, not today necessarily, but as it's closer, just so we know who's applying, or is that not appropriate? Because if I found out we didn't have enough, then we would certainly go and really talk to someone about it. Or are we not? I'm just not sure how to work this out.
I think just finding out where the interests are through an email, because there are people that's not on the call. Maybe they'll reply to an email that, yes, I applied, or I'm interested in applying, or what have you.
Okay.
So that if it's not, enough interest, then we can kind of probe some people to go ahead and apply, or encourage some people to go ahead and apply.
Right. Well, just from our little discussion here, we have a good enough interest for the minimum of applications. That's if everyone like Laura and Cardell and you, I know you will, but follow through and decide that they want to. But I would like to kind of keep sort of a little handle on that in terms of we have a good showing, like you said, Shaiki. So I will send something out as it gets closer. Okay. I also wanted to mention an email that I sent yesterday. This is a different topic, but kind of along the same lines of seeing if you want to serve in this capacity, the Voices for Virginia's Children. I sent out an email yesterday afternoon about if you would like to serve on an advocacy group. And there is actually a $200 stipend for being involved in this. And if you read the information on the email, it's saying it would be perhaps about 8 hours of your time over 3 months, which there would be some training in December. And then January and February, there would be some advocacy. And that, I think they are specifically looking for people who are directly working with programs and staff and children, because they want input on how things are going and with the unification process. Does anyone have any questions about that? I already got 2 emails back yesterday from people who said they were applying for that. So I was really happy because that was within like an hour. Does anyone else want to ask any questions or have interest in that? I mean, we're getting some great opportunities here with Head Start for sure. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? This email?
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, Dawn. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it all, and I'll be honest, I'm more than, if the support is needed, I'm more than happy to submit applications and be a part of it. I'm almost intimidated by the whole process and not knowing what's involved and, you know, how the time constraints and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna take a peek at it, and I just haven't made a final decision on both topics that you've just brought up.
I think just you mentioned about time too. I think they're having like like they did last year, a play day at the Capitol, but it'll be virtual this year. I mean, last year our parent ambassador program with the association selected parents and brought them here, like they, you know, funded that, staying in a hotel in Richmond and so forth. And we met with our legislators personally. But of course, this will more likely be a Zoom year for the General Assembly. So I'm pointing that out because in all reality, that's less time, because it's
Right.
less time out of your office, the travel, the back and forth. And so that might, in a sense, be a little more manageable for time constraints. But they do want you to meet with your voting constituent, your legislators. But they never just throw anybody into it. There's going to be some meetings over Zoom in December to kind of gear up for that. So,
Okay.
So if you look into it, or anyone, I would appreciate it. That would be great.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I'll keep you posted.
And the 2 that I heard from was Shirley Wells and Steph, and Heidi Lohr in Orange County. So they were both seeming to be interested as well. They're not on today. One last thing I want to say before we'll just open it up is that we are going to, I think Tonda was going to send it out on Monday. We've updated the Google Doc that was going around in August or maybe even July. And it's because now here we are, after the first 9 weeks, we are looking for an assessment. We do know things have changed. For example, some have gone from 100% virtual to hybrid, and some are in transition for other things. So we basically are asking 3 questions that, what kind of service you are doing at this time from November 1st on. And are you totally enrolled, funded enrollment? Have you met your funded enrollment numbers? Are you under enrolled? And if you have any specific concerns at this time. And this is something that's actually been initiated by Tondwa, because she does get asked these questions a lot for the status of Head Start for those 3 things. Again, what model are you using right now because of COVID-19? Are you under enrolled or at enrollment? And what concerns and comments do you have at this time? So as we know, this is going to be an evolving year, and it's time to update the form. So when she sends it out, please have a look at the last 3 columns. So now I'm just going to open it up. I think we have 10 minutes or so, and this is our time. Does anyone have something they want to ask the group? How are you doing with this, or what do you do about that? This is an open-ended time. This is when the good stuff comes out. You're not going to make me put on a hat and do a tap dance, are you? Are you having any thoughts about helping families with holiday assistance? Even, you know, any topics coming to mind as we're rounding out the winter months, coat drives, those kinds of things, anything we haven't talked about in the past that's different now with our virtual or hybrid world.
Dawn, I'd like to ask a question to everyone.
Sure.
Yesterday, I was on a Zoom meeting with our local health department, and all the superintendents in our region, it was recommended that they close for a time frame or go completely virtual after the holiday seasons. She actually recommended going virtual between Thanksgiving and the New Year, or at the very least, going virtual for 1 week after each holiday, to allow time for community spread, because in our area, it is a lot of community spread based on social gatherings, not coming from the schools, but going to the schools from other areas. So I was wondering if anyone else had any recommendations like that from their local VDH.
We have not in Fredericksburg and King George.
I think it's a good idea, to be honest. I mean, think about, are people really quarantining over the holidays? It's hard to say, you know.
We haven't had that. Sorry. We haven't had that recommendation from the health department yet, but we were looking at our returning in-person plan for January, and we were initially planning to return the workday after the holiday, but we pushed it back to January the 19th, 2 weeks, to allow for that community spread and for us to look at the data as it gets closer to the 19th, because we know that during the holidays, people are going to gather. So we pushed our in-person back to January 19th, which is 2 weeks after the holiday.
I was just going to add that I think that that's an excellent recommendation, but unfortunately that's not happening here at Loudoun. In fact, our families are currently in the process of providing their choices for a second semester. We are in hybrid state now for pre-K, and EL students in special education, K through 2, pre-K through 2. We're currently in hybrid, EL and special education. And then we're scheduled to have 3rd grade to 5th grade return hybrid December 1st, and everyone else who is selected hybrid beginning January 21st for second semester. So I don't see anything in the horizon with unless currently there's no word on what, Terry, what your area is recommending. I wish it were the case, because our school system on a daily basis is sharing all of the contracted cases at each of the school sites. And that's putting some fear in our parent community. So it just becomes quite problematic. So we're overwhelmed with the hybrid, the DL, the parents wanting to switch choices and all of that planning and trying to prepare for holiday assistance and support families in trying to get all their immunizations and 45-day screenings, all that good stuff. We're just kind of in a whirlwind right now. It's a little crazy. I feel like we're opening school 3 times this year. You know, there has not been a slowdown yet for us.
I think we're having all the same feelings. Dawn Miller, were you going to say something? Looks like you.
Yeah.
Or,
Can you hear me? I've got my
yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we have, I think a lot of school districts have the COVID dashboard where they keep track and let the public know. So in that, we have this problem that children that are at home are getting COVID. They've never walked in a school building, never. But we have to track them and count those numbers of COVID cases. And then our preschool families who because hybrid's going really well. They see that like in their school and then they take their kids out and make them 100% distance, even though we know that those 2 children that had COVID never even entered the school, but they're not breaking out the numbers like that. So we're just losing more kids to distance, and we know the hybrid's been working really well.
What did you say is working really well? The hybrid? Is that what you said?
Yeah. We really like the hybrid. It's working
Yeah.
for us. And we have more kids hybrid than we do distance learning.
Mm-hmm.
But once they hear about a case at a
At
school,
home, right.
they are pulling their kids to 100% distance, even though those children never walked into the building. Most of our COVID cases for children are 100% distance kids, not the kids that are in the building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we're just now starting to bring some of ours in 4 days a week because we've been doing so well. The children with disabilities and the dual language learners. But I am worried about the Thanksgiving, Christmas, and that amount of time that kids are home.
Well, and they were having a spike
Yes.
all around now. They're saying it on the news. There were like 142,000 cases in the US one day this week, and that's the most any country has ever had in one day, including our own numbers. So we are definitely going up. So it's a little strange to think that some schools are going back right now when they didn't before, but they are in November. And here we are with the numbers. So again, nobody knows what's the right thing to do, but.
It is unusual because our numbers are worse than March, and
Right.
A lot of us are in school.
I know it's well, you can only hope that it's because we're more prepared with our PPE and our plexiglass and our screening with the temperature, I guess, but you're right. It does seem backwards, but again, we're along for the ride and doing the best we can with what we've got. So does anyone else have anything they want to talk about? We're about at the hour. Okay, I just want to mention that I won't be on the calls for the next couple of weeks. I'm going out on medical leave. I have to have surgery next week. So I'm sorry I won't be on the calls. I'll miss you all, but you're in great hands with Tandwa. And I will send an email today when I send this recording and just let everyone know if they read it that I'll be out. And I just wanted to let you all know personally because I've really enjoyed these calls and I'll be back in mid-December. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.